Welcome to Perspective with Derwin L. Webb. I'm your host, Derwin L. Webb. We are here at the Fraser History Museum with another episode of Perspective with Derwin Webb. I have an opportunity to talk to a lot of people each and every week, and this time we have an opportunity to talk to a local star. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, but if you know anything about this type of issue, it should be something that we talk about throughout the year. It's my pleasure to bring on our special guest for this week, Mr. Trey Moses. Mr. Moses, good afternoon to you.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon to you. Appreciate you having me on.
Trey, I've been knowing you for a long time. I know we haven't had a chance to talk, but I've been following you since you were at Crosby.
Oh, nice.
Because I have people that went to Crosby at the same time. I saw you at Eastern because kids went to Eastern as well. I have friends that went to Ball State. So I have been following your career without you knowing it for a very long time. I know that you want to talk about the issue of mental health awareness, but let's go back. Let's talk about your days and being a basketball player here locally in the city of Louisville. You went to Crosby Middle School. Talk about your basketball careers from the time you started at Crosby.
Yeah, so Crosby was it was a little different because we had a really loaded squad. So we had Rob Shaw, Craig Owens, like we had a lot of guys, and so I really didn't start playing and getting minutes until my 8th grade year. I dressed varsity per se as a 6th grader, but I didn't start playing until I was 8th grade. Then I went on to Eastern. Pretty similar story. We had, my freshman year, our varsity team went to state, and that was another thing where I was just playing freshman. I think I was on JV a little bit, but not getting big minutes or anything. My sophomore year, that's when I really started playing varsity. I think I was still on JV, but spent the majority of my time on varsity. And my junior, senior years when I really kind of earned my role and really flourished.
At what point did you think that college basketball is something that I could possibly do? At what point did that become a reality for you?
Honestly, I had no offers after my junior year. I had no interest. And it wasn't until July of going into my senior year, July to August, I got 12 Division I offers. So I give a lot of credit to my AAU coach, Coach Q, and obviously my hard work and dedication to the sport paid off. But it wasn't until that moment where it's just like, wow, like this is a real opportunity that I'll be able to play Division I. And obviously Division I is everyone's goal, but I just wanted to play college. And at the time, Bellarmine was a D2, and I was mad that they didn't look at me. I think Northern Kentucky was the only Kentucky school to look at me, so I was, a little mad about that too. But just the opportunity to go play at the next level was always a goal for me. I played basketball and football growing up, and then decided to just stick with basketball going into high school. And my dad sat me down and said, we're gonna have to work for this. Like, if this is what you're gonna do, like you're gonna put real time and effort into it. And then I actually broke my leg my freshman year. I fractured my femur along my growth plate. I was 6'3" at the time. The doctor said it was the worst break he's ever seen. They said I wasn't going to grow anymore, and then obviously, I was blessed enough to grow 6 more inches. So, yeah.
So you get those 12 offers. What made Ball State so attractive?
So I had taken a visit to VMI the weekend before. I love VMI, I love their coaching staff, but the Army kind of lifestyle just wasn't for me. And then my visit to Ball State, I loved it. The 2 years before I got there, they had 5 and 7 wins. But for some reason, I trusted Coach Witt that he had a plan set in place to become a legit program in the MAC. We won 20 wins. We had 20 wins my first year, 21 my second year. Won MAC West titles both years. And for me, it was I was special education at the time. That's what I wanted to do. But I ended up switching majors. But the education program is really what drew me to Ball State. VMI only had like 14 majors, didn't have special education. And I just felt like Ball State was the best fit for me academically, basketball-wise, and I'm not too far from my family, but far enough to where I was going to grow as a man myself.
I understand that. I'm originally from Indianapolis, so I said the same thing coming to Louisville. It's not too far away from home, but far enough where they wouldn't be there every day.
No, for sure.
So you go throughout your college career, and we're going to get to why you're wearing the shirt that you're wearing. But you go throughout your college career, and then you start thinking about professional basketball. What made you go into professional basketball? Talk about a little bit about Athletes in Action, because that's a program I thought about playing for at one time too. But talk about Athletes in Action, and then your skip to professional basketball.
So I had 2 stints with Athletes in Action. My junior year, we had a captain's academy. So we were, they bring in 20, 25 guys from school, and I was blessed enough to be able to go with 2 of my other teammates, so 3 of us total. It was a phenomenal experience for not only me, but all of us, really learning how to be leaders, not only in basketball, but in life, and learning how to lead, learning how to follow to be able to lead. Because I think that's the biggest thing as leaders, you got to be able to learn how to follow as well, because we just don't know everything. I've always felt I was a leader, no matter where I've been, basketball, job, whatever. But at the same time, I'm not a person that feels like I know it all. So I try to really learn from people that know more than me, surround myself from that. And then later on that summer, we took a trip to New Zealand. And, I really didn't want to go at first. I kind of talk about this all the time. I'm very shy and introverted, so I really didn't want to go. And the idea of going with people that I've never met before, really scared me. So we flew out to LA for training camp. Our first game was we played out of prison. So that was a little scary for me too. I've never been around, that environment, but
I was going to say it's nothing like having that door shut
no,
behind
for
you, know
sure.
that you can't get back out.
We were just walking in. It was crazy. But it was a phenomenal experience in terms of, the people that we played against. They were just genuine dudes. And, after the game, one of them came up to me and was like, "Yo, can I get your Instagram?" I was like, "I mean, sure." But so then he ended up adding me on Instagram. We've talked ever since. And, so from there, we flew to Auckland, where we spent 6 days. I think we had 4 games in 6 days, 5 and 6 games. And, at halftime of each game, someone gave their testimony. So I was chosen to give mine to Auckland University. And for those that don't know, New Zealand has one of the highest suicide rates in the world, which I didn't know going in. But, I gave my story, and the amount of people that had come up to me talking about, how they appreciated my story, how they, had someone they lost to taking their life. It just meant a lot to me. And I always, not to get too preachy, but I've always said, God doesn't place us where we want to be, places where we need to be. And I didn't want to go on this trip, but after that, and then we flew to Dunedin, and I got to give my testimony there. But my host family, the mom had lost her dad to taking his life. Both girls played Division I in the States, and then the brother was a preschool teacher, which is ultimately what I changed my major to. So it was just another one of those things where it's like God doesn't, place us where we want to be, places where we need to be. And, that experience just changed my life. It introduced me to people that, I probably would have never met had I not gone on that trip, people that I now consider brothers. A couple of years ago, I went to one of their weddings. So that experience in general just was amazing. And I would suggest anyone that gets that chance, take it. And then moving forward in terms of professional career, I would say it was similar to playing Division I. I didn't know that the opportunity was going to come. From my freshman year, my coach, basically instilled in me that, he thinks I have the skill set to play in Europe. We had a guy a couple of years ago, a couple of years before I got there, he played overseas, and he, kept preaching to me like he thinks I have a similar skill set to that player. Once my senior season was almost wrapped up, I had a lot of agents basically reach out to me, and I ended up going with One Motive Sports, who I'm still with today. So we're going on, just finished my 5th year professionally. But he has a pretty similar story to me in terms of he lost someone to taking their life. So I just felt, he believed in me as a player, but also just believed in me and my story and what I want to do outside of basketball, because that's, ultimately what's most important to me, because I know the ball will stop bouncing eventually.
One of the things that you alluded to was your story.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in June, you put on an event, a basketball event at Eastern High School, about 24 Reasons. Let's talk about that story, because I know your story, but the people watching this may not know that. So I want to give you an opportunity to tell your story and talk about why you decided to create the foundation that you have right now, and go from there, please.
Yes, sir. So when I was at Crosby, that was my first time where I felt like I didn't want to be alive. And then moving on to Eastern, that's when, self-harm started. And then when I got to Ball State my freshman year, athletes have to be there in the summer. We had someone from the counseling center come in, give us a questionnaire. I answered truthfully, not really expecting anything to come from it. A week later, she came back, and that was my first glimpse of counseling. I was with her for, about a year. I was hospitalized twice my freshman year for not feeling safe. And after the second time, my athletic trainer came up to me. I was like crying before practice one day, didn't know why. And he said, I feel like it's time to tell Coach Witt. I think Coach Witt would really understand. And, that was the first time I told Coach Witt that, 3 months prior I was diagnosed with having severe depression and anxiety. And so for me, I was scared to kind of open up, but, Coach Witt sat me, looked me in my eyes and said, hey, take today off. I'll tell the guys you're sick. And when you want to open up and you want to tell your teammates what you're going through, by all means, but that's your choice. I want you to know I'm here for you. I love you. And that, as a freshman, I feel like we feel a lot of pressure to go in there and prove ourselves. And so the idea of missing a practice because of something I was going through outside of basketball was tough. But he reassured me. And I give a lot of credit to Coach Witt in terms of showing me love and care, not only in that moment, but, still to today. And then moving on to my sophomore year, I actually tried to take my life. And then my junior year, my birthday is August 21st. And, I had all my friends over to celebrate. One of my teammates, Zachary Hollywood, he was there. And then, he said, bye, I love you, about 12:15. I went to sleep shortly after. The next morning, I woke up to 4 missed calls and 2 voice messages. I didn't really think too much of it. I'd just seen him hours before. I was texting him throughout class and between classes, and then we had our first team meeting that Tuesday at 1, and it was about 12:15. I still hadn't heard from him, and so I was walking to the meeting. I was just getting there a little early. I ran into our teammate Kyle Mallers. I asked him if he could take us over there because they lived together. I walked in, and he had shot himself in the chest, and that was tough for me. The last 2 times I saw Zach were in that capacity, and then after, in a casket. That was really tough, just seeing someone that I loved and cared about. And it was also my first taste of death, like losing someone so close to me. So moving forward, 2019, I spoke to coaches about mental health and players. 2020, I spoke at the All-Star game with the Kennedy Foundation to the community of Chicago about mental health. And then 2020, I also won the Inspiration Award from the NCAA. But in 2019, I started 24 Reasons, not really having a plan in mind or where to go, but I just knew I wanted to do something. And at the time, it was just basically selling clothes type of thing to raise awareness. But we actually became nonprofit this February. So we just had our first event, and for me, it meant a lot to one, bring both my passions with basketball and mental health into one event, and then 2, to be able to have it in a city that I love, that I claim, and at a high school that I grew up in. I have a lot of love for. So the event in general just meant so much, and obviously we had a great turnout. Players did good, coaches did good. Appreciate you. But just in general, the event was just everything I could ever want. I didn't know what to expect. I think 2 weeks prior to the event, we had 12 tickets sold. So I felt like I was getting a little discouraged with all of our hard work that we had. We started planning in December, January. So there was a lot of hard work that went into it, and I was getting a little discouraged. But we ended up having a little over 500 people show up, and it was just everything that I could ever want.
Well, let's talk about mental health. And as it relates to you now, is this something that you deal with every day?
Yeah.
something that is still a struggle for you. How do you get through days? Because for the person that does not have to experience the things that you go through, what is life like for you right now?
Yeah. So, again, not to get too preachy,
Hey,
last
hey,
night.
hey! It's okay to be preachy.
No, I know. I
You're
just know.
fine.
I know how some people, view it. But last night was one of the toughest nights I've had in a long time. I went down to the walking bridge just to basically clear my mind. I spent about 30, 45 minutes apologizing to Zach. Wishing I could have saved him, wishing I could have been there. And I just started praying. I said, God, if my story is supposed to continue, like, please send someone to help me. And there was over 60, 70 people that walked by that day or that night, last night. And then I just had a couple, and I'm sitting like crying, like literally in tears. But I had a couple walk by, and the girl said, "Are you okay?" And I looked at her and started crying even more. She said, "What's your name?" Told her my name. They told me theirs. She said, "Can I pray for you?" And that was just powerful to me because not even 5 minutes before, I literally asked God to send me a message, and I was looking at my phone, seeing if someone was going to call me, text me, someone to just check on me, and to have this couple just stop by, like, that just gave me hope that my story is supposed to continue. I am supposed to be doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing. I give a lot of credit to my circle, my people, even people outside my circle that don't even know me, that will message me on all platforms of social media asking how I'm doing. Every Monday I do a mental health check. I have people, that will say, "Okay, but how are you doing?" And I think with mental health, it's understanding that we do have our days. Not every day is the same, but just always remembering, like, it's okay not to be okay. And for me, when I'm going through it, I really try to lean on my people, surround myself by love and people that just really care about me.
What do you hope to do with this platform now?
Yeah. So with the nonprofit, one of our main goals is to get into the school systems to basically educate about mental health, because for me, I went from seventh grade, 11 to 12 years old, all the way till my freshman year when I was 17, not knowing what I was going through. Like, had no idea what depression was, had no idea what anxiety was, no idea what mental health was. So I think, it's in a sense a bit crazy to think about the lack of education about things that people go through. So, the Kevin Love Fund does something similar. So in a sense, I'm kind of copying what they do, but Kevin's was my favorite player growing up, just for his basketball aspect of stuff. I wore number 42 in high school, AAU. And so the fact that he then opened up about everything that he was going through, it was just like, it's another one of those things where it's just like, wow, like, it's crazy to think about, that someone I look up to is going through something similar. So for me, we're wanting to get into the school systems. Once a month, we will basically send a video on a topic, have someone preach. So, like, the first one we'll send would be kind of my story, my background, everything that I went through. Then we'd send videos on, anxiety, depression, self-love, bullying, all these different, eating disorders, all these different things that kids, people, adults may go through, but at that young age, they may not know what it is. So I think it's just important to, from the education standpoint, to really just get it out there.
What message do you have for young adults or young teenagers that may be struggling with the same kind of issues?
Yeah, so I feel like there's two things I always harp on. The first one is it's okay not to be okay, because that's better than not being here. And for me, I feel like if I would have answered the phone at 4 a.m., Zach could have made it, but there's also no telling if he would have had another bad day, what could have happened. So I just always preach it's okay not to be okay. And the second thing is to be open with your feelings, be honest. Not everyone needs to know, just a few good people, and those few good people are people that you love and care about, that also love and care about you. Because at the end of the day, when we're going through those moments, it does feel like nobody cares, nobody loves us, nobody whatever. And so I think it's important to just really surround yourself by those people that love and care about you.
You talked about the foundation itself and things that the foundation is hoping to accomplish. What's next for you on an individual and personal level? What are you trying to do for yourself?
I think it's just my growth in the last, couple of years has been phenomenal. I've grown as a person, as a man, as my mental health. So for me, it's just continuing to stack good days, and obviously, just because I have a tough moment, that doesn't make it a bad day, but it's how I can come back from that. And I just started TMS therapy. Well, I just finished TMS therapy. I started this summer with.
Tell people what that is.
Yeah, so basically I wear this helmet that makes me look a little goofy, and so I'm basically sitting one-on-one with their technicians, and I'm wearing this helmet, and basically it's like a magnetic coil. It's different than shock therapy, but I don't sound as scientifically smart when I'm kind of explaining. I've asked them to explain it to me multiple times, but doing my best. But there's like a magnetic coil that goes around. I feel it for 2 seconds, and then I get a 20-second break, and I do that for 20 minutes, and that really helped me, because I talked about the night I had last night, but then I feel like old me would have then carried that into today, where now I feel like my growth and my mental health and as a person has really changed that trajectory for me.
Just a few more questions. One question I really want to know is, how important do you think it is to break the stigma of mental health, especially in the athletic community?
Mm-hmm. So that's our main goal with 24 Reasons, is breaking that stigma, because as males, as African American males, I'm not going to speak for everyone, but I know I've seen it within my own relationship with my dad, and then with friends, that it's always, don't be a baby, don't be soft, stop being a girl. And I was just down at Delta Foundation this week. I've been teaching them mental health and different things, but I hate the don't be a girl, because there's a lot of women that are just as tough as men. They might not be able to physically lift as much as us, but they've been through a lot. I look at my mom, a single mother, who had to deal with me and everything that I had going on growing up, and I didn't appreciate her at the time, but I look back now and think my mom's one of the strongest people I've met. So for someone to say don't be a girl, I'm like, my mom's like the strongest person I've ever known. So breaking that stigma is just so important, and letting it be known that, like, again, it's okay not to be okay. And especially like bad practice, bad game, bad day, whatever it is, like, there's always tomorrow. The sun always comes back up.
As you go throughout this journey, you think about the things that you've done. Are there any signs, like, for example, for me, if I'm looking at someone, because of what I do, I always try and figure out what's the best way I can help someone. Mm-hmm. Are there signs that I should be looking for, or are you just waiting for someone to tell you that they have some issues? Are there any personal signs?
Yeah, so I think, especially with like people you're super close with, any abnormal changes, like if a person's typically super outgoing, and one day they're kind of quiet, not as vocal, not as jokey. That's something that's the first one, where it's just like, okay, like the shift in their mood in terms of they're one way one day and then they're a different day another day. That's a moment where it's just like, hey, how you doing today? Like, how are you? Even to random people. Another thing I always say is just say hi. One of my teammates in college was, he told me a story about how he said hi to a girl on the bus, and then that girl later came back and was like, that hi saved my life, because I didn't think anyone cared. And so it's just like little things, and really loving, paying attention to your people, and just understanding who you're around. And even the people that seem like they have it all together all the time, typically don't always have it together. No one's perfect, and I think it's important to just pay attention to those that you love and care about, and watch those changes.
I know that you have a lot of people that look up to you.
Mm-hmm.
I know you have some stories about people that have heard your story and come to you and talk to you about that. Mm-hmm. If someone wanted to talk to you or try and get in touch with you about 24 Reasons or your story, or speaking somewhere, how could they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I'm on all social media. Instagram's Trey Moses 41. Facebook is just Trey Moses. Twitter's Trey Moses 32, I think. Email Trey at 24reasons.org. 24 Reasons Instagram, 24 Reasons __. And I think it's one of those things where I'm super open about helping, talking, being there for anyone. There's, obviously I'm super busy and I do my best and will make no promises in terms of trying to be there for a person 24/7, but I will make every promise to do my best. And at the end of the day, I think that's all that matters, is that I'm trying to be, a light for other people.
I will say this: you're a very large individual,
Yeah.
and so when you walk down the street, people know or they think they know about you or who you are. If you had a chance to describe yourself and had a chance to tell someone who you really were, who would you tell that person?
Man, what a question. I would say, I'm a person that loves everyone. I'm a person that, you look at me, you see what I do on social media in terms of being a basketball player. I'm more than a basketball player. I'm a person that cares. I love people. I love kids. I love kids with disabilities. I have camps for kids with disabilities. I'm passionate about mental health. But, most importantly, I just want to do my best to love other people the way Jesus loved people. And for me, my faith has been so up and down over the course of my life, but I feel like I was put here to love people, to show people love, to be there for people. And at the end of the day, I'm not perfect, but I will do my very, very best to love people the best way I can.
Well, Trey, like I said before, I've known you for a long time. Well, put it like this: I've known of you. We
Yes,
haven't
sir.
had a chance to talk or anything like that, but I've known of you for several years. You're about the same age as my kids, so I have seen you for several years. When you talk about some of the things that you experience right now, I've seen that in other people, and I have lost people to suicide as well. When you get to the point where you are walking the walking bridge, and you have no one else to call, let's talk.
Yes,
Call
sir.
me.
No, I appreciate that.
I keep my phone on. I keep my phone on for what I do for a living anyway. If you ever get to that point, not only anybody else that's close to you, call me too.
Yes,
I
sir.
don't ever want to see anything happen, because you have a story, you have a journey, and you have something that you can give to other people that you can't receive just from anyone.
Yes,
So
sir.
and I appreciate your story. I appreciate all that you're doing for us, and thank you for sharing your story. Appreciate your time, appreciate your story, appreciate your mission, and thank you for coming on the show
Yes, sir.
today.
Thank you.
As we try and close out the show, as we always do, I always close out by saying it's not a matter of what you say, it's not a matter of what I think. At the end of the day, it's all a matter of perspective. Thank you very much for being here today.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.